Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Blake, and today I thought I would do two things with this video. The first thing is to kind of talk about my rating system when it comes to books. And the second thing is I was going to do some get to know me books, some books that I always recommend or that I love, or if you like these books, you'll like me as a content creator because our book taste will be aligned. And if not, you can still probably find some great recommendations in this pile. So first of all, let's go through the ratings. I have to confess here, I am a very 5-star happy review person. So if you follow me on Goodreads, I rate a lot of 5 stars. So you can take my ratings sometimes with a grain of salt if you're a more critical reader. I am not. I read basically for enjoyment only. It really has to be critical for me to rate something low. It usually has to be the plot fell apart, it makes no sense, we went off the rails, or there was so much trauma, or there was so much of a certain thing in it that was driving me crazy, something like that, where there is something egregious that I could not look past. But that has to be huge for me to rate anything lower than 3 stars. 3 stars for me is a fine, okay book. That's across the line. It's okay. I might have gotten bored with it a little bit. I had to kind of slug through it to finish it, things like that. And then 4 stars is I really enjoyed it. I didn't quite give it that 5-star top tier feeling, but I loved it. I liked it enough to really enjoy it, and I would still recommend it to people. And then 5 stars is I loved it. But again, I am here. This is very millennial of me. I'm here for the vibes when it comes to rating books. I rate based on my enjoyment, based on what it made me feel. And I don't critically look at books very often. It's not for me as far as a reader. I did a lot of that in graduate school and undergrad. I was a political science major, history major. I did a lot of critical thinking and a lot of analyzing texts and writing reviews and papers and all of these things. And for me now, I am a happy-go-lucky reader who will read for enjoyment. So when you hear me say that I loved a book, I would love to see what you think about that book, but also that, everybody's opinions are different. And I welcome people who hate the book that I love or didn't get to finish it. When I would do book clubs at the library, I would always tell my patrons that came to book club that they should come if they finished the book, if they loved the book, if they hated the book, and if they didn't finish the book, because it was all about the discussion and the enjoyment. And I so many times changed my viewpoint on a book because of hearing other people. Not that I was necessarily influenced by other people, but just hearing somebody else's perspective of why this happened or why they loved this part really kind of made me rethink my evaluation of a book. And it could have been for the better or for worse. So it's really interesting to see other people's perspectives on books and how they rate things and how they view what makes something a really good book versus a really bad book. So I'm always interested to see what people think, and I'm always open to hear what you have to say when it comes to rating books. So you can comment what your rating system is on my comments down below. But also, I wanted to kind of also today, and hopefully my voice is better, side note, I am finally, I think, getting over this cold. I think I sound better. I hope. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully I'm on the tail end. I'm going to still try to film, because if I don't, then I feel like I'll fall off the wagon. So consistency is key, right, guys? Okay. So back to the books. We are going to talk about some books that make me a reader, or books that, like, if you love, you and I have lots to talk about, things like that. I have 9 books today, and I will not go into huge detail about any of them. It's going to basically just be rapid fire. I'll show the book, I'll talk about it, and then we'll move on. If you want me to do a more in-depth video on any of these, let me know. But yeah, that's where we're going to start. And I was going to start with cozy mysteries, but I'm going to start with just regular fiction, like I have a nonfiction, and then I have a women's fic. So the first one is going to be The Chestnut Man. Oh my gosh. This is by Soren Silvestrup. I am not a Scandinavian speaker. I don't speak any Scandinavian languages, and I tried to look it up and remember how to say it, so forgive me if I butchered it. But this book is so good. It is so good. I like to go in blind, as you know, but I will tell you, this is a serial killer. It is a Nordic thriller, which always to me seems a little darker than sometimes when you get more of your American writers or your British writers or some of those. I feel like the Nordic population sometimes can get me it's a little darker sometimes. So I loved this so much. I recommended it to everybody who loves a thriller. I could not stop talking about it after I read it. There is a serial killer on the loose, and he leaves chestnut men as his calling card, or her calling card, or their calling card. Sorry, I didn't mean to use pronouns because I'm not going to give any spoilers. So check this one out. It is so good. I have not seen the Netflix. I think it's a mini-series. I have not seen that because I loved this so much. I was afraid to watch the Netflix series. So if you've seen the series, let me know if it's something that I should watch, because I absolutely adored it. Adored. I loved this book, but I don't know what that says about me. So yeah, I loved it. The next one that I have for you guys is The Most Beautiful Thing by R.J. Cooper. This book, can you see? I've read it a couple of times. It is so good. It follows R.J. It is his book. It's his memoir, and he is from Chicago, south side of Chicago, and he joins a rowing team in high school. And that's all I'm going to say, because this one was just, again, it was so good. It was heartwarming. It was sad. It was just a really powerful book, and I always recommend this to everybody who wants to just read a good memoir. It's not a thick book, so it's not going to be this overwhelming, chunky read that you have to just kind of dig into. This one is a very good, and it gets through a lot of points in a very good way. It's not as drawn out as I think some memoirs can be. So check this one out. It's one of my all-time favorites. And then my last one that I love this author, and I have all of her books, I believe, but they are signed because I've hosted her in the past for author events, and they're signed copies. So when I get a signed copy, I put them away in boxes, so they're nicer, and I usually can find them. Well, I found some of them, but I couldn't find this one, so I'm going to use my Kindle today and show you. This one, Catherine Center, is one of my favorite women's fiction author. She started more, in my opinion, as women's fiction, and then she has slowly kind of more navigated towards a little bit more romance. But they are romance books now that she's published that I think anyone could read. They are not steamy. They're very closed door. She had said in an author event that her husband is a science teacher, and so she might have kids picking up her books, and so she wanted to make sure they were not anything scandalous, that her kids would have to come back to school and be like, Mr. whatever her husband's name is, I read this book and it was, XYZ. So I love this one. It is about a woman who's in a relationship with a guy. In the first chapter, he is learning to be a pilot, and he does not have his pilot's license yet, and he convinces her to go on this plane ride with him, and she is afraid of flying, and she kind of reluctantly goes, and there's a plane crash, and that is the first chapter. So I'm not giving anything away, and I'm just gonna let it go from there. But it's so good. I laughed, I cried. It's phenomenal. So enjoy Catherine Center, and let me know if you've read this one and how you felt. And so we are going to some cozy mysteries really quick because I'm already rambled on enough. So the first one is Class Reunions Are Murder by Libby Klein. This one we follow Poppy McAllister, and she is this is a New Jersey cozy. If anybody is doing the states challenge, this one's New Jersey, and she is opening a bed and breakfast with her Aunt Jenny. And her Aunt Jenny is an older lady who has these older friends, and they kind of run amok. And the whole series is funny and just a great time. And there's a little murder, there's a little laughter, there's a little bit of a relationship. So I highly recommend this one. Next is one of my favorite series. This is Death of a Kitchen Diva by Lee Hollis. It's a brother and sister writing team that writes this. And Rick Kopp, who writes the majority of it, and then his sister Holly does the columns on the inside. We follow Haley Powell. She is a columnist, a part-time columnist for a newspaper in Maine, and she writes like recipes and things. And her family is funny. She's got her brother-in-law is the chief police officer in town, so he's funny, and this just the whole cast of characters again, and this one's really funny as well. So you'll get a good laugh and enjoy this warm, cozy series and characters as well. And then the last one is probably my most recommended cozy mystery. This is Death by Dumpling by Vivian Chen. We follow Lana Lee in her family restaurant, it's the Noodle House. I think it's the I don't remember, but it's so good. It's so good. She runs the noodle shop with her family, and she solves some murders along the way. So that's this series as well. And then there are 3 new books that I wanted to just kind of touch base on that I loved, that I read this year. These are new published books. The rest of them have all been older published books some of them in the last couple years, some of them a little older than that even. So the first one is a romance book by Lucy Score. This one's Story of My Life. We follow an author who is suffering from writer's block. She's got really bad writer's block, and so she has decided to branch out and try to go to a small town and see what she can come up with as far as a romance book that she needs to come up with for her publisher. So there's small town vibes. I don't like saying this is like Gilmore Girls, but this is kind of like Gilmore Girls. It's so good. And I loved the characters in the stories. The townspeople are so funny. For an example, the mayor is a senior in high school, and they need to raise money to save their septic system in the town. So the mayor comes up with the idea of doing this 5K where he's on the cross-country team. So his idea is, I'm going to beat all these people, so I'll just dress up as a poop emoji. Not kidding. And if you beat him across the finish line, you will get a family-size pack of toilet paper. That is the 5K. Well, lo and behold, things happen, and it's really funny. So that little antidote that's kind of what encompasses this book. It's wacky, it's funny, there's some heartfelt moments, there's a good relationship, and I can't wait for the second one to come out next year. This one is from my fantasy, light fantasy. Well, I don't know if it's not heavy fantasy, it's light fantasy. This one is really cute. I just finished it. It follows your main character, Aria. Sorry, I had to think of what her name was. And she is recently turned into a werewolf. And her parents are, mondanes or normal people. They don't have any kind of magical power. And so it's just following her in her kindergarten class through the whole school year. And you just kind of get this parenting kind of dynamic with all these different magical children in the book, and the parents who aren't magical, they're trying to navigate this new world that they've been put into. So it's funny, it's charming, there's some magic, there's some dark elements as far as the plot line, but it's still a very light, easy to digest fantasy book. And my last one is The Autumn Springs Retirement Home Massacre by Philip Fracassi. This one I finished again recently, and it was so good. But if you don't like gore, I would not recommend this one necessarily. It is more on the gory side than some of my other thriller horror books that I've read in the past. We follow Rose, and she lives in this Autumn Springs retirement home community. And she has friends that suddenly start popping up murdered. And so we go from there. That's all I'm going to say. It was really good. And if you're an audiobook narrator, or if you're audiobook person, the audiobook is narrated by January Lavoie, which she is phenomenal. So I highly recommend this one as well. So I hope you kind of enjoy some of those book recommendations. That's kind of encompassing me as a reader in a nutshell. I read a little bit of, as I've said multiple times, I read a little bit of everything. So you'll see a little bit of everything in all these videos that I plan on doing in the future. So if you've read any of those, let me know what you think. If you haven't, hopefully you come away with some new fun book recommendations. Now, I did notice that I need to work on how to describe my books a little bit. I did say the books were good a lot. So hopefully I can get better with that. Again, I just try to be more on very little said about books, because for me, I feel like lately, with especially in the publishing industry, it seems like back of the books, reviews, things like that have been really spoiler heavy. So I am trying to really be choosy on how I describe my books or how I present them to you, because I hate it when I get a book and I reading it and I love it, but it's not what was presented to me. So I'm trying to come up with different ways to describe books, but without giving huge spoilers or kind of leading you astray in one sense or another, where if I'm just going to read you the back of the book or read a review. So, but I will, I will work getting better on how to describe my books in the future. But for now, that is all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have found some wonderful books. And until next time, happy reading.